Man, have I got a treat for you guys today. I have the most amazing woman here. Her name is Patricia Crisafulli, but that's not why I'm telling you about it. We recorded a podcast last month just for you guys. And for some reason, it got lost in the ethers and it is nowhere to be found. And this beautiful woman graciously came back to re record it. And she, no questions asked. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Why wouldn't I come back? I had an amazing conversation with you. I would talk to you every week. So it's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show and having me back again.
And the reason that I'm so excited about having you here is because I truly believe that grief intertwines in every aspect of our life.
Yes.
And you're not a grief specialist and you don't hang out with grievers, but you do something so amazing. And I want to tie this back to the for the grievers for a specific reason. So let's start by this. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and who you are and what you do? This is like, guess what I do, I guess, in a sense.
Yes. So you're going to hear the first part of this, folks. You're going to go, and why is she
What?
on the show? Because I'm going to tell you that I am a mystery novelist. And you're going to go, did I hit the wrong podcast channel today? No, you did not. So I've been a writer since I'm 7 years old. I wasn't good at it back then, but I knew in my heart that this is what I was meant to do, and spent years and years honing my craft and being a journalist and becoming a nonfiction author and always striving toward my dream of being a mystery writer and being a novelist. And then it became a mystery writer. My first novel came out last year, and I have a new one coming out within days of this, will be coming out. And along the way of pursuing my dream and of finding and claiming my passion, I, like everybody else listening, has had my share of ups and downs and
Yes.
losses and grieving. I lost my mother, and she was the topic of my first nonfiction book. I lost my dad right before my bestseller came out. I lost my sister just as my first novel was coming out. And so I've had to learn how to grieve in real time
Yeah.
while still pursuing my dream and not feeling guilty about that. And how do I not only live on, but try to define myself in new ways, and how I believe it all comes together. uh, it's intertwined, our hopes, our dreams, our losses, and our grief. And we're here and we're meant to live fully. And how do we do that in a way that feels honorable and respectful of them and us, and also gives us permission to live?
Yes. Beautiful. You said it perfectly. I love that. You said it perfectly. So tell me before we get into any deep conversation, what draws you to the mystery genre?
Well, it was suggested to me. So if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I always thought I would write women's literary fiction because I was in a 5-year Masters of Fine Arts program and we were all writing literary fiction. And a very, very, very wise editor looked at my novel and said, you got a mystery here. And I'm like, a what? A mystery. And then I realized that, yes, indeed, I did. And what appeals to me about mystery, and I have just jumped in with both feet and both hands into this genre and loving it, is mystery leads us to the deeper questions of life. Think
Yeah.
about it. Murder mystery is
Yeah.
about life and death. It's about good and evil. It's about wronged and righted, right? Someone is wronged and there's revenge. Someone wants to put a past hurt to rights. It's about penance and justice, and it's about accusation and forgiveness. I mean, if you think about the themes that come together, and a classic mystery, an Agatha Christie, or if you're a big Louise Penny fan, as I am, and she writes about the tensions that exist within a very small place, a small town. You see these life lessons, these big themes, writ small or writ
Yeah.
large. That's what appeals to me about mystery. You can't write a mystery without going to the heart of human existence. Who am I? Do I live or die? What would I die for? What do I value? What am I afraid of? And what fear would I stand up to? That's what mysteries ultimately are about.
That's amazing. That's so cool. One of the questions that I asked you last time, and this is where I felt like I really wanted to hear it from you as a writer, right? Who's actually taking the pen and putting it to paper. I felt that when I was actively grieving, every show I watched had this deep grief connection to it, right? Do you think the writers are bringing in their grief, or it's that they're able to tap into that experience and they
Wow.
really want it to come out?
I would say it's see all of the above.
Yeah.
If we think about it, because loss and death and grief are just part of every human experience, right? So if you think of, we go back to our Shakespeare, we think of Hamlet, who is raging and losing his mind over the death, which turns out to be the murder of his father, and he's haunted by this ghost. This is a grieving son looking to right a wrong. That's what Hamlet is. And so in this audience, right? In the Elizabethan times would have certainly recognized, blood feuds in families and people dying young and people dying unexpectedly, maybe dying in battle or whatever. That would have resonated, correct? And the same way, if we look at stories that are more contemporary, we say to ourselves, this is appealing to me because I see an actor or
Yeah.
on the screen, or a protagonist in a book who is dealing with loss, who is trying to move beyond their crippling grief. And it could be that that grief is the loss of relationship or job or status as well. And trying to understand the past. One of my absolute favorite books, it goes back a couple of decades, but came a movie, Rebecca Wells, the Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood,
Yes.
where the daughter is learning her mother's story, and the grief
Yeah.
at the center of her mother's story, which is the first love of her life,
Yeah.
who was killed in battle. Also, the loss of her mother's love, because her mother couldn't compete with this young daughter for the father's attention. And then the loss of the mother loses kind of her sense of self, and it kind of devolves from there. So grief and loss is woven through that magnificent story. I think writers know the uniqueness of story that has the commonality of loss and grief. And in that, they probably tap into their own stories. I don't know how they could avoid it,
Yeah.
but they also know that they can create this connection with an audience or a reader. We don't go through this life unscathed. And when we share these stories or we experience them, I think we have a moment of that inhale. I'm not the only one.
Yeah. I think you're so right. I think they're tapping into their own pain. They're putting it across because we'd had to have experienced it to be able to write it so
Yes,
perfectly, right?
yes,
To be
yes.
able to write it so good. Your latest book revolves around uncovering the extraordinary miracles within the ordinary moments.
Right.
Share how these concepts influence your storytelling approach.
Okay, so this is like my favorite theme to write in anything, whether it's a short story or a mystery novel. I truly believe that we are, human beings having a spiritual experience. And I'm not saying this to like for any like preachy
Yeah.
dogmatic point at all, but that we are incredible, transcendent, wonderful humans, and we have creativity and thoughts and dreams and whatever. But we go through ordinary life. Monday is garbage day, so you got to get the recycling bin out to the curb before 7 o'clock in the morning. And then on Thursday, you have that thing that you do, whatever. And then you made the commitment to that. And like we have our schedules, our jobs, our routines. And there's comfort there. And also, it's kind of nice to like pay the mortgage and pay the bills and have food in the refrigerator, right?
Yeah.
Um, but intersecting our lives at any moment, our extraordinary moments. It could be serendipity. It could be that, like, we all had this experience. I was just thinking about you and you called.
Yeah.
Like, we have that
Yeah.
moment. Or the lost is found, something that we didn't even know we had comes back, and there it is. It's a friend of mine was telling me a story she had a story about a necklace that she was given out of a box of kind of junk costumey jewelry that her aunt gave her. Well, turns out that there was a necklace in there that she recognized as her great grandmother's because it's in the photograph over her bookshelf. So she goes, I know where this came from because look at that picture. So over the generations. No, it is not a Cartier diamond, but it's this
I
moment,
know, but
this
still
yes, when you feel
beautiful.
like, whoa, right? And I was telling you last time when I was going through some emails, I found an email from my sister, the one who died in January 2022, who wrote me this note of encouragement about writing. And she's like, don't ever forget, this is all about your writing, no matter what happens in publishing or whatever. Like, this is all about you and your writing. And I was like, why did I find
Right.
that? Why did I? What? And I felt like she was telling me that again. So whether it's kind of woo or
I
or
don't think it's
it's
woo-woo at all. I
it's
absolutely love it.
spiritual, or it's happenstance. It's these intersections where suddenly that's also what storytellers talk about. It's and then today, right?
Yeah,
Ordinary things, and then today something happened. And when we read stories that contain those moments, we realize, oh shoot, I'm having them too. And maybe they're little, or maybe they're big, or maybe they're all over the map, but they're touching my life. They're worthy of storytelling, and I'm going to sharpen my focus
yeah,
on them. In my first novel, it happens because Gabriella, who is my protagonist, she is a divorced single mom, has had to move back to her hometown, does not want to be there. It is a defeat. She won't even put down roots by making that many friends. She works and takes care of her son and her mother. And I'm going back to New York City as soon as I can. This is her whole mindset. And of all things, she has to run a rummage sale, insult to injury, except inside one of the boxes, an anonymous donation is this weird little artifact-y looking thing that she dismisses as totally tchotchke from some gift shop and turns out to be so much more. And it is the heart of the mystery that it's also a murder mystery. So what? And the second book, the one just coming out, The Secrets of Stillwater's Chasm, same kind of setup. But Gabriella is now off and doing an outreach program, and someone comes to her with a rolled up piece of paper and says, my father told me this was really worth something, and I need to sell it so I can get away from my husband. And she's like, she looks at it and she's like, I have no idea. And that starts. So those moments of intersection, we have them, our heroes have them. And when we celebrate them, life feels like it has another layer to it. We
yeah,
are buoyed by this sense of
yeah.
there's meaning, there's purpose, and there's a bigger story that is going to be writing itself around me and pulling me through.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love it. Okay. I'm going to go to that because I want to talk about the griever taking a break. But before we go to that, mystery often involves uncovering hidden truths, right? That's what we were talking about. Just like
Yes.
that necklace appeared. I truly believe that as we're going through the grieving experience, many times we're finding out mysteries or things about our person that we never even knew. Like the fact that you got that email, it's sort of mysterious and spiritual all connected together. The fact that you got that email, the fact that she got that necklace. Yeah, it's not a Cartier, but it's
Better.
sentimental to her. It's even better. I remember when Austin died, he was 10, and all of the little kids in his class wrote letters. And yeah, every single one of those letters from his friends that they wrote to his mom revealed little mysteries about things that he was doing in the class. So who thought that Austin would? They all thought he was their best friend. Things that he would say. It's like little bits of treasures that we find in our loved ones after they're gone. It is a mystery. I think it's
It is a
beautiful.
mystery. And when you put them away in a box and then you're
Yeah,
looking for that, you know what? I gotta make up the guest bed. And where is that blanket? The one that
yeah,
fits really well on the sofa. And out comes that box of letters, and you're like,
yeah,
I forgot that I'd even
yes,
put them there.
yeah.
I did that. I found a letter that my father had written me when I first moved to New York City. I was 24 then. We are not doing the math of how long ago that was. but we measure it in decades. Um, and he was just like, he wrote it on a typewriter. You know, he was a two-finger typist,
Yeah.
and it just said, "It's a rainy day, and I'm thinking about you. And I wish you weren't so far away, but we have Alexander and the ponies," which meant Alexander Graham Bell, you can call
Yeah.
me, and the ponies. But that's how my dad would express himself. And it's like a three-sentence letter with this weird, and I found it years and years and years later. And so it was joy when I first received
Yeah.
it, and incredible, unbelievable, valuable treasure when I
Treasure.
rediscovered it. And why then? Why? What was it about that
Yeah.
rediscovery time? Like I felt as if it was such comfort in that moment. Not that I was like, oh, missing him so bad. You know, there's that kind of that dull ache that's always in the background. But my dad had lived a long time and he had a great life. And, you know, he didn't, you know, I always said he didn't rust out, he wore out. Um,
You,
I just felt like he was still telling me, you know, I'm there. I'm
you re-
there.
you reminded me of something that I completely have forgotten. I've never even shared this. Recently, I was going through some of my mom's boxes. My mother's still living. I was going through some boxes to send her some stuff, and she had a folder in there, and I uncovered a speech that my dad did in the 70s in church. And the first 2 pages, he's talking about, and it's typed out as well, which he had a secretary type because he didn't type, but it talks about where he was born and what his life was like in his childhood. It is like a huge treasure that I never knew existed. So, and the rest of it is the spiritual part of the speech that he gives, but I copied it and sent it to all my brothers and sisters so they could have it as well. What a treasure, right?
What a treasure. His early life in his words. I mean, it's
Yes.
cool if an aunt or an uncle or a neighbor can tell you, I
Yeah.
remember, but he was recalling
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
so for some reason, I bet you it would be fun to say, well, how does my age now compared to the age he
Yeah.
was when he gave that?
Yeah.
Are there parallels?
Yeah.
Mystery, folks, mysteries. Are there parallels between his life in that moment and my life now that might add in even an extra layer or lever, right? We can explore.
And I think that because we take our person and we put them under the microscope and we're examining everything about them, we're finding a ton of treasures. But now I want to get back to the books, which I think are so beautiful. One of the things I often talk to grievers about is taking a break from their grief. And I believe that reading a mystery novel is one of the best ways to take a break because you get catapulted into another story, another time frame, and it is a way to take a break from your active grieving and enjoy a beautiful story. What's your take on that?
I'll see you and I'll raise you. I not only agree that, and I would agree with that with anything you want to read that you might, you know, truly enjoy, a favorite author, a favorite book. But a mystery has another appeal, which is mysteries appeal to our critical thinking.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're always figuring out who done it. Was it the guy in the raincoat, or was it the lady with the, you know, with the fedora in the car? Or was it the weird guy or whatever here? Or was it the watchmaker who ran away and down the alley? You know, we're looking at our cast of characters and trying to figure out who done it, which is looks like great escapism. But here's the thing: it's problem solving. It is
Yes.
looking at an array of possible solutions and deciding which one makes the most sense. And it's looking for clues and it's lining things up and it's eliminating certain things. And it's saying, I believe that that thought exercise, that mental exercise is so good for people who've got to figure out how to move forward, whether job loss, relationship loss, loss of a loved one, or you're just like, my life is changing. A mystery is great for reminding you, I do know how to solve
Yeah.
problems. I do know how to look at what I've got and decide which is the most likely scenario. And that's why I think when life is uncertain, mysteries are more important. And they also remind us of a few other things. Hope, you trust that the
Yeah.
wrongs are going to get righted.
Yeah.
Resilience, because oftentimes the protagonist is under great strain and tension and self doubt. And hope. because you read a mystery believing that at least in this little corner of the world, order will be restored. And I think the more we tell our brains that that is possible, maybe not on a global scale that we can enact or effect, but within our world, the more we tell our brains that, the more our brain goes, got it. Okay, I know what you want to experience. And we can move ourselves in our own critical thinking, problem solving, choice making, solution finding. And and the joy and bit of escapism of a mystery is actually teaching us how to think that way.
Yeah. I often call it grieving and living. So we continue living, just like you said, we got to take the trash to the curb, but we're doing that all at the same time. And sometimes we need to take a break from it because it is so exhausting. So tell us about your newest book that's coming out.
Oh, thank you. So So I left my hometown when I was 21, but I can't stop writing about it. Well, it worked for Hemingway. All right, he wrote about Northern Michigan when he moved to Paris, so I guess it's okay for me. So I wrote, I am the author of two so far installments of the Oneida Harbor Mystery Series. So the first is, and they are set in the fictional hometown of Oneida Harbor, New York, which is based on my real hometown of Oswego, New York. A little fact for you. The first is The Secrets of Oneida Harbor, and I think people will be able to find this in the show notes. And it's about Gabriella, the researcher, authenticator, not wanting to go back to her hometown, and she's on a quest. Suddenly, she is the unwitting hero on a quest to authenticate this, what turns out to be a medieval artifact. What is it doing here? Who gave this thing? What do we do with it? And of course she's not the only one looking at it, and soon she is very much in the crosshairs of danger. The second is very different, same basic cast of characters, very different setup. It is The Secrets of Still Waters Chasm. So Gabriella is now in the outer reaches of Oneida County, as I call it, getting toward the Adirondack Mountains, if you know your New York State geography. And she's on it's a beautiful September day, and she's hiking with her new boyfriend. And it's this lovely, lovely day. And of course, they get to the shore of the lake, and there are two people, one dead, one dying, and she goes into reaction and action. And as she races off, she comes back. They come back with help because they have older cell phones that don't get a signal. Come back, and the bodies are gone. And so
Mm,
it sets up with some intrigue, but also a great deal of self doubt. Did I really see what I saw? It
mm.
makes no sense. And for her logical mind, she's constantly self-doubting. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced, but circumstances tells me I have to be wrong. Even the state police say, well, obviously they're not here. It didn't happen. So it becomes quite internal and psychological for her. Lots of twists and turns, and there's another historic artifact, but it's all about this idea of acting on what we believe to be true, even when circumstances tell us this is not what could possibly be happening. So it's kind of like reality on two levels.
Yes.
And then ultimately, once again, past pushes through into the present because the past wants resolution as well. And there is a very much an historic artifact that needs to be brought into the present. That it's almost as if this inanimate object has agency and wants to be found. And when everything is solved, we truly do understand secrets with a cap with an S on the end of Still Waters Chasm.
Wow, that is so exciting. I just absolutely beautiful. It was such an honor to interview you twice, to get to know you, to have to share you with our audience. And I think that this is really going to get grievers moving in the right direction of taking that break and taking a look at a mystery novel, and especially your mystery novel.
Well,
So I
thank you.
want to say thank you so much, friends. Everything you need to know about Patricia is in the show notes. She gave us some beautiful show notes. I actually have her bio in there, and you'll be able to see her picture. Please enjoy the novel that she's written, enjoy this show, and know that we are here for you. Thank you, friends.
Absolutely.
Bye, friends.